Hey members of the Forge Gaming community, my name is Reed Bruxo, also commonly known as Jay. This is just a small disclaimer before the video to tell you that this is just my personal opinion on the guide that you're about to watch based off of the research that I have done. This is by no means in any way, shape, or form something you have to follow. It's just a suggestion based off of all of the research that I've done. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it'll help you. Bye. And welcome, after the disclaimer, to my guide on how to build your Protection Warrior. Like I stated in the disclaimer, this is just my personal opinion, as well as a secondary input to show you how I would build your artifact weapon, and I hope that this will help you. So first off, we're going to be starting with Nethalon's Fury, and then going into Strength of the Earth aspect, as is our first and only option. Now, you have two choices because of the fact that this weapon is built in such a way. You can either go left and start working your way to Might of the Vercule, or you can go right to Dragon Scales as your first gold dragons. Now, when you're looking at the talents and options you have to choose from, you either have Rage of the Fallen, which increases your rage damage, increases the damage of Rage of the Fallen by a total of 18%. Or you can go to Shatter the Bones, which increases the critical strike chance of your shield slam by 15% during shield block. In my opinion, this is the better option, because even though it is they're both damage-based abilities, the next option you get from going with Shatter the Bones increases your rage by 30. Actually, is a nice talent and makes it so that we can go into Dragon Skin, which increases our the damage ignored by Ignore Pain by another 6%, and since Ignore Pain is a very strong cooldown for us now, it's actually one of the better options. Then we move into Reflective Plating, which just makes it so that you can reflect an infinite number of spells during Mass Spell Reflect. From there, we go into Dragon Scales, where blocking an attack has a chance to increase the total damage ignored by your next Ignore Pain by 60%. And that is where we start with our first gold dragon. Now, we're skipping over Thunder Crash due to the fact that, based off of the talents that we have that are survivability based rather than damage based, it makes it so that we will go back to Thunder Crash later, unless you feel like Thunder Crash is going to be more beneficial to you than the Dragon Skin option. You can go with that. From there, we're going to be going to Wall of Steel, so when you target an ally with Intercept, it redirects 2 additional attacks, and the damage you take from those attacks is reduced by 10%. And then from there, we're going to be going into Leaping Giants, which reduces the cooldown of your Heroic Leap by 6%, or by 6 seconds, sorry. And then we're going to be going into Scales of the Earth. So, critical blocks have a chance to cause an eruption from your artifact weapon, increasing your armor by a total of 30%, and dealing 250% of your attack power as physical damage to enemies in front of you in a cone. Now, this is actually a nice bonus because we're going at level 17. We already have 2 gold dragons, which is more than most people do. And then with the way that their artifacts are built. And because of the fact that we have gone to Wall of Steel and to the second dragon here, we're actually able to skip over Rage of the Fallen and go to one of the better talents, which is the Vercule Shield Training, which increases your total armor by 6%. Then, followed by, we have 2 options. You can either have increase your toughness, which increases your overall stamina by 3%, or, if you want, you can increase your will to survive, which increases your last stand health by an additional 30%. It's all based off of your personal preference, and in my opinion, I would go with the increase in stamina, because health is health, and it just gives you that just a little bit of buffer. But if you feel like you are struggling, and Last Stand is a cooldown that you're having to use more regularly, then go with Will to Survive to give you that 30% increase. Now, I'm going to go into Rumbling Voice, which increases the duration and radius of our Demoralizing Shout by 50%. And then I'm going to go into Might of the Vercule. And since we have now all 3 gold dragons at level 25, we can start finishing our artifact weapon. So from there, based off of whether or not you went with Toughness or Will to Survive, you fill in the other, and in this instance, I'd be filling in Will to Survive, and then it's whether or not I want to go with Revenge, or if I want to go with Thunderclash. It's all based off of your personal preference at this point. With the amount of AoE-based fights, I'm going to go with Thunderclash for this, and then go with Rage of the Fallen after that, meaning our artifact weapon is at level 34, meaning that we can finally start working on our Unbreakable Bulwark, which, as we slowly level it up every 2 levels, increases our armor by another %. So initially, it gives us an increased armor of 10% as soon as we put a point into it. And then from there, as we slowly increase it all the way up to 20, it gives us an additional almost 30% in armor. Basically just giving you that extra bit of tanking power. Now, when it comes to your Legion legendaries, the few that you have an option to are the ones that all specs have, which is the Mannoroth's Bloodletting Manacles, which for every 10 rage you spend, you get a 1% maximum health heal, which is actually kind of nice. And then basically the options we have as protection warriors are the following. We have the Thunderlord's Vigor, the Walls Fell, the Kassun's Stormscale Gauntlets, and the Destiny's Driver. Now, when it comes to tanks, a lot of these all have to do with your personal preference. The one I'm going to obviously recommend is the heal one. It is the one I feel is the best option out of all of the others, except when it comes to certain situations. So, because of the fact that there are lots of fights where there are adds, having the waste of the Thunderlord's Vigor makes it so that for each enemy hit by your Thunderclap, reduces the cooldown on your demoralizing shit by a second. So when you're able to do Thunderclap regularly every 6 seconds or less based off of your haste, it makes it so you can use Demoralizing Shout more often, especially on adds. Now, it also, the other one you could possibly do is you could make it so you could grab the Walls Fell. So, Shield Slam reduces the remaining cooldown on Shield Wall by 4 seconds for every use. So, even though it's on a 9-second or less cooldown based off of procs, it can be beneficial to you. The only ones I really don't feel like, unless you really feel your raid needs the damage, so Devastate increases the damage done and rage generated by your next Revenge or Shield Slam by 20%. It's more of a damage boost. If you feel like your raid needs it, then you can go with that. On fights where you feel you are going to be intercepting attacks based off of whatever tank mechanics there are, then you could go with the Chest, which has a chance of breaking your set bonus and making it so that your intercepted attacks grant you your next intercept target absorb shield equal to 25% of the damage done by the attack for 10 seconds. Now, it's all based off of my opinions. Like I said, when it comes to your Legion legendaries, the only one I really recommend is the Mannoroth's Bloodletting Manacles, which heals you for a 1% of your maximum health for every 10 rage you spend. You do have the option, because of the fact that you are a warrior and all classes, you have the ability to increase your movement speed by 75% for your haste with feet. Or if you successfully apply a loss controlling effect to an enemy, which is more of a PvP based effect, you can increase your movement speed and haste by 15% for 10 seconds. Or, after not taking damage for 5 seconds, which doesn't really happen unless you're the off tank, you can gain an absorb shield equal to 15% of your maximum health for 30 seconds, and this effect obviously only occurs once every 30 seconds. It's based off of what your personal preference is. Like I've said, I believe the wrist is the best option, as it has no chance of breaking your set bonus and gives you a nice passive heal that you do because you're spending rage anyways. I hope you've enjoyed this guide, and give it a thumbs up.